Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about setting up our workspace, adjusting some of our text specifically. So, in case you missed it in the last video, before you start setting up your text, you're going to want to make sure you have your guides set up so you can see where each panel ends and each panel begins. That's really important when we start inserting text because we don't want it cut off. So you don't see any rulers on your screen. You could use Control R for a ruler. And then if you use your black arrow and you just click and drag, don't let go until you place it where you want it, you could place your guides as needed. And you can do that vertically or horizontally, wherever you need them. So that's reminder number one. Reminder number two is that you're going to need your text on the top panel to be upside down. The way the box folds, we need to flip it. So we'll need it to look like that, but you'll notice if you just make a text box and you attempt to flip it with your black arrow like we normally would, it doesn't flop it. So what we need to do is we need to change our text to a shape format. And we do that by right-clicking on the text and hitting Create Outlines. So you'll notice the outline appears around each piece, each letter. And then when I hover in the corner and attempt to rotate it, it will let me flip it upside down. So that's really important. Otherwise, we don't really have another way to do it. And if we use Reflect, the letters will be backwards, and we just want them upside down. The other important thing we want to go over today is some text adjustment. So you'll notice on my back panel here, this is where my paragraph is going to go. I didn't put my paragraph like tight in the corner. I want to leave kind of an invisible margin, some balance around it. So like I had said before, when we go to cut and fold these, we want to leave some room for error. So we want to leave some space for the folds. So I made my text box a little bit smaller here. And I even decided to put a little rectangle of a different color behind it to help my text stand out a little bit better. But you may be in a spot where like you just can't get your text to fit correctly. So I want to show you some spacing adjustments you can make. So if I go and select all of my text, I go to the top here and click character, I get this big drop-down menu. So if I want more space between my lines of text, I could use this thing where the A is on top of the A. It's called the leading. And if I up it, it's going to create way more space between my lines. Down, I can push it much closer together. And that's fine. You just want to make sure that like they aren't too close to the point where like they're interrupting or touching the next row. A good rule of thumb is that your leading average is around the same size as your font size. But you can always go a little bit more space or a little bit less space. Feel free to go either way. Another option you probably don't have to use, but it's there for you, is your kerning. It's also called your tracking. So that's the space between the letters themselves. So I'm going to make this really big so you can start to see how all the space between the letters is getting really big. You can also go like the opposite direction and do a negative number, and you can see how close you can get some of the text together. Again, you usually want to stay in the 0 range, but you can go up and down depending on like how much text you need and where you need it. So that's another option that will help you work on your formatting as well. But so far, those are the next steps for the project. And after that, we'll continue working on like our images we've drawn in. Feel free to take social media icons from the internet. Those you do not have to redraw. You could just take like your Instagram and Twitter logo and stuff like that and import those.